Hi everybody, welcome to the Student Learning Support Service. My name is Lauren and today we are talking about introductions. Everyone's favorite, right? Now, introductions play a hugely important role in our writing. After all, they control all of our writing's most important information and tell the reader how that information will be delivered. But that can also seem like a lot of pressure, and no wonder a lot of students feel a little bit stuck about what they should actually include in their introductions. And this is why it's actually a good idea to try writing your introduction last. After all, you have to know where you're going before you can set out on a journey, right? And this is really important because our introduction is a map that will guide our reader through the whole assignment. And with this map, they should be able to navigate our work, knowing what the destination is and all of the different paths that they're going to go down to get there. And without it, they're very likely to find themselves a little bit lost. So in order to give our readers this map, it's very useful to think of our introductions like a triangle, where we begin very broadly and become narrower as we reach the end. So we're going to begin with a bit of background to the topic, some general information that tells the reader where we are, what is this topic we're talking about, how can they situate themselves in our assignment. We then want to consider the significance of this topic. So why is it important? Is it a timely issue? Does it have impacts on any particular groups or situations? This tells the reader why the problem is one that is worth reading about, and it helps to support and foreground your argument. You may then need to define some key terms if necessary. Sometimes in academic writing we use a little bit of jargon, and so you might need to send a sentence or two breaking this down for your reader. Now note, this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be using a dictionary definition. It might just be a very brief introduction to a key theory or concept or a little bit of background about an idea. Next we have our thesis statement, and this is a really important one that I'm going to break down properly in a moment, which is followed by the key points which are going to provide an outline for the rest of your essay. Now, thesis statement is one or two sentences that expresses the main idea of your writing. So what is your essay going to be about? A good thesis statement tells your reader your position on a particular topic or subject, maybe what your argument is, and what the key points or premises are that will support that argument. And in this sense, they become the structure of your essay. Now, many thesis statements are argumentative. So this means that they put forward a very particular claim and then they use supporting premises. You may be familiar with these as key ideas or main points that will support that premise. And again, in this way, this will provide the structure for your essay. So for example, in this one, we've got the death penalty should not be restored in Australia due to the discriminatory nature of capital punishment, the fallibility of proving guilt in criminal cases, and the violation of the most fundamental human right, the right to life. Now, hopefully you've noticed because of my color coding that our orange section up here, this is the claim, this is the position that I am taking on this topic of the death penalty. It clearly has a position. It should not be restored in Australia. And due to shows my reader that these are the causes, these are the premises that I'm using to support this statement. And those are the discriminatory nature of capital punishment, the fallibility of proving guilt, and the violation of human rights. Three key premises that are going to support this thesis. And of course, I can expect that I, as a reader, will encounter each of these ideas in order through the essay. So now let's talk about non-argumentative thesis statements, because not all essays are an argument. Sometimes we might be describing a process or explaining a concept or providing an overview of some research. So in this case, our thesis statement is going to state the main focus of the paper. Most of our essays will still have a single idea, and we want to express what that main idea is in the thesis statement. And of course, outline what the key points are that we're going to make through the essay. And so again, this might look something like this. This essay will discuss the history of cattle use and consumption in China, from traditional farming methods through to small-scale firms and modern-day production, and examine the socio-cultural issues tied with the modern beef industry. Once again, I've outlined what the main focus of the issue, of the topic is in orange, and all of those points that I'm going to use to explain this issue along the way. So when we're writing our thesis statement, it's really important to use clear and confident language. Remember, in many cases, you are putting forward a claim, an argument, and you want your reader to be convinced by it. However, it's really important that we don't overstate our argument, which can be easy to do. It's a little bit of a tricky balance. So an example of an overstated thesis statement might be, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is the greatest hero of all time. Now, while I personally might believe this to be true, I'm sure you can see that this is not going to make for a very convincing thesis. After all, how can I possibly prove that she is the greatest hero of all time? I would have quite a task set out for me trying to prove that beyond a doubt. However, what I can do is try to minimize the scope, use less qualifying over-the-top language, and instead maybe come up with something a little bit more reasonable. Buffy the Vampire Slayer represents a transgressive third-wave feminist hero. So I've limited the scope quite considerably to something that I actually can discuss within the scope of an essay and use evidence to support. So something that can really help us with this balance of language for our thesis statements is using qualifiers. And qualifiers are those words and phrases that limit meaning and help us avoid overstatements and generalizations. So these include words like could, frequently, commonly, probably, few, a minority, numerous, unlikely, and seldom. Of course, we also want to make it clear what the scope and the limitations are. That might be something we do in the thesis statement, or it might be something that we just do in the introduction more generally. But remember, your thesis needs to be something that you can convince your reader of by the end of your essay. So keep it confident, but also don't overstate yourself. So, to summarize, your introduction acts as the map that will guide your reader through the rest of your paper. It should be shaped like a triangle and move from broad to narrow, and it should include a clear and confident thesis statement and outline the key points that will structure the rest of your essay. So from here, make sure you have a look at paragraphs, and after that, you might want to check out conclusions. In addition, I really recommend having a look at our resources on writing an argument if you're writing an argumentative essay, and you also may want to check out integrating evidence to find out a little bit more about some of that language that we can use when we are supporting our claims. So I will see you in the next one.